the land being given rest every 7th year, the commandment regarding the year of Jubilee, and the commandments concerning servitude among the people of Israel. This last type of commandment is also perhaps one of the least understood and most misrepresented of the commandments that are included in the Torah. So in this video I want to give further clarity to this commandment regarding servitude and elaborate upon what it is and what it is not. What should first be pointed out is that these commandments don't concern Jews enslaving the non-Jewish peoples and making them our subjects and subjugating them throughout the world, that we will trample them under our feet, heaven forbid. But this week's parasha in the book of Leviticus, chapter 26, shows that the concept of servitude in the Bible is both applied to the Israelite and to the non-Israelite. Both can enter servitude. Now, one of the first main distinctions is that this form of servitude, a person sells himself into it. An individual is not bought from or taken by war from among the nations and forced against his will to become a servant of the people of Israel, heaven forbid. That essentially is equal to kidnapping, which is both forbidden to Jews and non-Jews in the context of the Torah. I'd like to begin what the traditional Jewish understanding and how we are to relate to these servants is. Keep in mind that the words that I'm going to read were written long before the civil rights movement and long before there were political human rights groups pressuring different countries around the world. I'm going to be reading from the Mishneh Torah, the codification of Talmudic law, in Hilchot Avadim, chapter 9, in the 8th law. It starts off, "It is not forbidden to have an Abid Kana'ani, a non-Israelite servant, perform difficult labor. Although this is the law, the attribute of piety and the way of wisdom is for a person to be merciful and to pursue justice, not to make his servants carry a heavy burden, nor cause them distress. He should allow them to partake of all the food and drink he serves. This was the practice of the sages of Israel, of the early generations, who would give their servants from every dish of which they themselves would partake, and they would provide food for their animals and for their servants before even partaking of their own meals. And so it is written in Psalms 123, As the eyes of servants are toward their master's hands, and like the eyes of a maid-servant to her mistress's hands, so are our eyes towards God. Similarly, we should not embarrass a servant by our deeds or with our words, for the Torah prescribed that they perform service, not that they be humiliated. Nor should one shout or vent his anger upon them intensely. Instead, one should speak to them gently and listen to their claims. This is explicitly stated with regard to the positive paths of Job, for which he is praised in Job chapter 31, verse 13 and 15. Have I ever shunned justice from my servant and maidservant when they quarreled with me? Did not he who made me in the belly make him as well? Was it not the one who prepared us in the womb? Here you see, in early Jewish sources, showing the equality of the humanity between both the one who is master over the servant and the servant. Did not the same one form us? Did we not both come from the same place? Cruelty and arrogance are found only among idol-worshipping Gentiles. By contrast, the descendants of Abraham, our patriarch, the Israelites, whom the Holy One, blessed be He, granted the goodness of the Torah and commanded to observe righteous statutes and judgments, are to be merciful to all. And similarly, with regard to the attributes of the Holy One, who the Torah commands the people of Israel to walk in His ways. His ways include, which we are obligated to emulate, that His mercies are upon all His works, and whoever shows mercy to others will have mercy shown to him, as indicated by Deuteronomy chapter 13, verse 18. He will show you mercy and be merciful upon you and multiply you. Now I'd like to give some of the additional laws that are included in this chapter that show clear distinctions between the concept of servitude among the people of Israel and that which took place in the United States. Hashem Yishmor, God forbid that such should ever be justified in this world. Alright, so I think I'm going to start off with what appears in chapter 8 of Hilchot Avadim, in the 14th law. It says, if a servant and the acquirer of the servant do not make an agreement at the outset whether the servant will accept the Torah and circumcision, then the servant gets 12 months to decide whether or not he will accept circumcision and the Torah. If after 12 months the servant still doesn't want to accept the Torah and circumcision, then he must be given either to a non-Jew or anyone else outside the Holy Land. You are not allowed to buy and give servants in the land of Israel, in the Holy Land, who do not voluntarily take upon themselves the Torah and circumcision. They go through an actual process of conversion. They do not become full converts, but they do have a way to do that if they so choose, and I will get to that. But when they enter servitude among the people of Israel, they take upon the positive commandments that are also applicable to female Israelites. And we are forbidden, just as with all other Israelites, to even just lift our hand in anger towards them. Alright. If a servant took a vow that the Torah obligates him to fulfill, and his master doesn't compel the servant to fulfill the vow that the servant made, but says your vow is nullified, and the servant is automatically released. Here I'd like to state that when the servant who enters servitude through accepting the Torah and circumcision, when he is released from his servitude, he automatically becomes an Israelite. This is part of the Torah command as understood by the adjudication of the Mosaic court, which the law of Moses commands us to heed and obey in Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 8 through 11, and many other places. This understanding of the Talmudic tradition cannot be divorced from the text of the Bible. You cannot take the text of the Bible and say that this is what Jews think or teach, while totally ignoring the way that we have traditionally explained what these verses mean. Additionally, if you have a servant who entered into servitude with the people of Israel, and they live outside the land of Israel, so the servant, the non-Israelite servant we're talking about in all these places, if he chooses to go to the land of Israel to live, then his master is obligated to go with him, even if the master doesn't want to. And the master, the owner of the servant, is to be compelled and coerced to go to the land of Israel. And it says, "Afilu b'zaman hazeh she eretz Yisrael b'yad hagoyim." Even in this time period, when the land of Israel is in the dominion of the nations. Also, it says, if the master desired to go outside of the land of Israel, he's not able to take the servant out with him unless the servant agrees. A servant who fled to the land of Israel, he's not to be returned to servitude, but he is released, and he automatically gains the status of an Israelite. He doesn't even revert back to being a non-Israelite as he was before he entered servitude. For the contrary, he becomes an Israelite. This is because he already accepted upon himself voluntarily the Torah and circumcision, which, if he were to choose from the outset not to accept, he would be released and given back to the nations. If the master marries a servant to a free woman, or places tefillin on his head, phylacteries on his head, or tells him to read even 3 verses from the Torah publicly, the servant is released from servitude. If a servant is acquired from a non-Jew, and the servants, when about to be immersed for the sake of servitude, take the initiative by themselves and immerse themselves with intent to become released from servitude, they are released from servitude, and they automatically become an Israelite. If he did this outside of his master's presence, he must explicitly state that this is his intent, that he is immersing for the sake of full conversion to become a full Israelite, and not for the sake of servitude. When the servants of a convert, such as myself, somebody who voluntarily, unconnected to accepting servitude, voluntarily joined the people of Israel, when someone such as that, when his servants take the initiative and immerse themselves in his presence, then they are automatically released from servitude. The last 2 matters I want to touch on is the matter of servitude and the full convert to the people of Israel, such as myself, and the anti-Semitic claim that Jews call non-Jews animals, behemoth. Alright, so the concept of servitude with regard to full converts to the people of Israel is that unlike a native-born Israelite and unlike a non-Israelite who did not become a full convert, the full convert simply cannot become a servant to the people of Israel. This is included in Hilchot Avadim. The reason for this is that being the most repeated commandment in the Torah, that the people of Israel love the convert and provide him charity and support him and enliven him, give him clothing, and on and on. So the dire state, the state of the destitute state that would require an individual, that would inspire an individual to want to give himself over to servitude, is something that is not to apply to a full convert due to the priority of giving charity to the full convert. Unlike with the native-born Israelite, to whom such repeated commandment isn't given. Certainly we are to love everybody equally. Love your neighbor as yourself applies to all of the people of Israel. I really am at a loss for explanations as to why the native-born Israelite would be able to, well, it just entered my head. I was going to say why the native-born Israelite would be able to enter servitude and the convert not, because they're all required one to the other, to give charity one to the other. But taking in mind that the majority of the people of Israel are not converts, but are native-born, if all of the people of Israel were to be in such dire need, then simply there would not be the ability to sustain so many people with such high levels of charity. And therefore, the native-born Israelite is able to enter servitude. But again, the also found among anti-Semitic claims the claim that the convert to the people of Israel is just to be made a slave is not only outlandish, but is simply totally baseless. And to the contrary, while the convert to the people of Israel is not able to enter servitude, the native-born is. So clearly this is not a racial or racially anti-non-Jewish concept in the Torah. It's not a matter of racial supremacy. Now, one of the places where anti-Semites say that the Jews believe that non-Jews are animals comes from a place in the laws of servants where, regarding only a minor who is a non-Israelite and who is acquired into servitude, only with regard to him and not the adult, there's a place where it says that his law is like an animal, kabhema. But it doesn't just say that. His law is like that of an animal with regard to one specific thing. It has nothing to do with his personhood. It has to do with the way in which he can be acquired. Unlike an adult who enters servitude, the minor who enters servitude is able to enter servitude and be acquired by the master simply by drawing him after himself. If the child is ownerless, like an ownerless animal, simply by bringing the child with him, just like bringing the animal with you, he automatically enters his domain. This is different from an adult non-Jew who enters servitude, who cannot be entered in that manner. He is only entered by through money or through writing a, how do you say, a shtar is the word. A legal document. Even without money, by a legal document. Or, let's see, well, I'll have to look it up. Well, I'll just put it in the annotations and spare you time. But that only applies to the minor who is entering into servitude. And this concept where an individual is said to have the same status as an animal appears in other places with regard to individuals who are not non-Jews. There's even a place where a Jew is said to have the status of a rock. That doesn't mean that the Jew is a rock. All of these places where such things appear means with regard to one specific aspect, not even having to do with the personhood of the individual, but with how some law applies to him has a commonality with something else. Oh yeah, and that very place where it says that the non-Jewish individual who is under the age of 13, that he has a law the same as an animal with regard to one specific thing, it also immediately says after that that he is an Adam, that he is a person. And this is another thing, it's quite ironic, that the anti-Semitic websites say that the term person, Adam, doesn't apply to non-Jews. That's quite funny, being that in this very place, in the very same chapter, the non-Jewish servants have the term Adam applied to them very explicitly. I think I wrote that down. Let's see. Yeah. Alright, so it's in the 5th chapter, and it says that Zochin la'adam, with regard to a positive thing that you are able to do towards a non-Israelite servant, you can cause him to acquire a positive status, being released, for example, from servitude, even without his knowledge at that very moment that you are releasing him. And this is because that the Torah gives merit to a person even without that person having to agree or have full knowledge at the moment that the person is getting merit for something. He doesn't need to have full knowledge of it. So there, even with regard to a non-Israelite servant, the term Adam, person, is applied. So enough with that nonsense. And if you guys have any more questions about this topic, I'd be happy to hear them. All the best. Shabbat Shalom.